We have three varieties of coffee because Arabica goes on elevation 1,200 meters and above. Relative temperature required is 16 degrees and below. This place is only 420 meters above sea level.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Phil, the Barista Coffee Dude with BaristaCoffeeLife.com. And did you know that the Philippines has coffee? Yes, they do. Recently, my wife and I were able to take a trip out to the Philippines. Now, personally, I've never been outside of North America. I'm American. I have been to Canada and I've been to Mexico. Outside of that, I've not been anywhere. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about the culture other than what my family has told me. And I was super pumped to go. Now, we went there for a wedding and to hang out with family and like do all those things. So coffee being a part of our lives ended up getting intertwined in what we were doing. However, coffee was more of a byproduct. So this video, it's kind of like snapshots of the coffee world in the Philippines, but it was something I was totally unfamiliar with, a completely different way of thinking about coffee and approaching coffee. And it really opened my eyes to like what a lot of the world has to experience when it comes to coffee. So when we flew into Manila, and immediately we were whisked away up to Tagaytay. So Tagaytay is actually a volcano, and it's a little bit southwest of Manila. And so around the rim of the volcano, there's like that main highway that goes around there. Well, a little offshoot of that highway is a municipality called Alfonso. Within Alfonso, there's a more or less it's a bed and breakfast. However, the gentleman that owns the bed and breakfast, he used to be a engineer for the Philippine government. So he purchased some land, which is called the Coffee Farmhouse. Definitely check it out. Coffee is more of like an attraction for him. The bed and breakfast is the main business for him. Extremely hospitable. We didn't have reservations. Come to find out, you are actually supposed to have reservations to be able to get a tour of the coffee farmhouse. However, we just pulled up to the gate, honked the horn a couple times, and he came out and greeted us, opened the gate, and then gave us the full tour of his facility. So that was kind of like our first coffee escapade that we were on. From there, a few days later, we went up to the mountain province, a little bit north of Manila. It was about a 5-hour drive into a region called Baguio. So Baguio is what they call the boondocks, and boondocks meaning like up in the mountains or like far away, and not the boondocks that we associate with in America. So on our way up the mountain, we came across an establishment called Dario's Coffee. And they just happen to be roasting on the side of the road. There's a huge plume of smoke. They don't have afterburners or any of those things. And so we just got super curious. On the way up the mountain, because of traffic, we actually weren't able to stop and pull over. But our driver, who made it a priority of being hospitable, and we were guests in his country, on the way back down the mountain, he made it a point to be able to be in a position where we could stop roadside at Dario's Coffee. When we were at the coffee farmhouse, the neighbor had a skill saw and a table saw going, so there's a lot of noise. I had to run the video through a filter. But other than the audio quality at some certain points being kind of like on and off and a little rough, so just give me some grace when it comes to that. I'm not going to do an outro or anything like that. Just I appreciate you. And as always, the goal of Barista Coffee Life, the mission is to build a community and fuel dreams through coffee. So appreciate you. Later.
We have three varieties of coffee because Arabica goes on elevation 1,200 meters and above. Relative temperature required is 16 degrees and below. This place is only 420 meters above sea level. Okay? So the coffee that's available here is Robusta, Liberica or the Kaping Barako, and then the Excelsa, the mild Barako.
Okay.
Okay? There are more than 32 varieties of coffee worldwide, but we have 3. The other varieties, the premium, not available here because of the elevation and the weather. Not good enough. If you could grow Arabica, it's not bearing that good fruit and good tasting one. Although Arabica is, well, relatively a mild and a medium taste coffee. It's not so, and the caffeine content of Arabica is half of that of Liberica and Robusta. That's why Robusta is the low value coffee, ideal for instant coffee, for Nescafe. Because the yield for every kilo of dried berries of coffee, you could yield about 65% beans. But on the Liberica o Kaping Barako, where they call it Kaping Makapal, thick, you could only get about 1/3 of the bean. 2/3 is the husk or the skin. So if you don't give a premium price for the Barako, then it's not worth. Okay? That's why you cannot hardly see Barako in Starbucks or other coffee shop. Because one, the supply and the quantity is relatively low. Only about 5% of the total country production. We used to be producing 35,000 metric tons a day of coffee. But today, the Philippines is hardly could produce 20,000. And most of them are coming now from Southern Mindanao and Cotabato area. Not anymore here in Batangas, Laguna, and Cavite. Because the cost of the land has gone up, they are selling left and right the property. Ideal for a vacation because of the weather.
Yeah,
And also the accessibility from Metro Manila.
that's right.
Okay? And a lot, the coffee capital, they claim, Amadeo. A lot of the property now are converted into golf courses. Okay? Because when they sell it, millions.
Yeah.
And the farmer, wow, it's million. Let's sell it.
Yeah.
Okay. But the problem is, they don't invest it. After a few time, gone the money. And they now are working just caretaker of their own farm before. It's a sad story, and I hate looking at what will happen to the Philippines if most of the property are sold and the locals are just caretaker, not only employees, servant.
That's right.
So it's sad, but it's what's happening. Not only, especially here in this part of the Cavite. Although Cavite is one among the most progressive province of the country. Infrastructure, everything is okay. Even in barangays, you have paved roads, cemented, power is no problem, water is no problem. But the economics, that's the big problem. But the typical coffee farm, and they don't have any intervening other shaded. But it is shaded intentionally because what we are giving favor are our guests on a bed and breakfast. And with the global warming, the more that we have to plant trees to maintain the temperature and comfort and convenience of the place. And coffee, as I said, is not among the priority. It is the peep activity that we spend time and energy because it's not worth it. But the attraction is there. That's why every time people look at the website and look for coffee farm, we're always there. Okay, this is Philippine standard, but in other countries where the cost of inputs, fertilizer, pesticide is relatively low, the cost of the land is cheaper, then they could produce more. Okay, not here. There's a big problem. So we have that big problem of being competitive and besides where the land or the ideal climate is fine, in the mountainous area, the big problem is the peace and order situation. Okay, until now. It's not eradicated. Why? There are people who are getting advantage of this rebel until now. Sad story, but that's the reality. And some of them are part of the armed forces. They share on the
Politician,
revolutionary
yes.
tax. Okay?
Okay. Ah,
The Philippines used to be fourth largest producer, but no more. We are the 25th in terms of ranking in production of
For the
coffee
imports.
now. Okay, because it has, instead of increasing, it has gone down. Okay? And besides, the Filipinos or the youth now hate going farming.
yes.
They want
yes.
rather to go abroad and OFW work and everything. But the problem is
They
countries
like the
abroad,
white
they encourage them to bring their family so that there will be no remittances. When you earn dollar, 4,000, 5,000 multiplied by 55, you have what? Quarter of a million. And what is quarter of a million in the country?
So
You
this-
live in a luxurious lifestyle in subdivision and every day you could play golf. But when you spend $5,000 in the States, apartment is
yeah.
so expensive and the cost of food is so it's difficult. But the problem is they are not aware of it. When they go abroad, they thought, oh, good retirement, good health insurance, good. They don't realize that they have to pay because you pay high taxes and all these benefits. When you retire, you paid it in advance while you are still working. They didn't realize that. But it's the reality. Okay?
So this is coffee beans already,
No.
Manong?
This one. This. Yes.
Okay,
This
so
one
what
is
is this
Liberica. So you
So
could
this is
compare the
edible.
leaves.
Okay.
It's big, thick, and not so wavy.
Okay.
The Robusta is this one. It's small, thin, and wavy. Okay? Robusta. And well, the other Excelsa, that if you want to have a closer look of the bean, then this is an example of the Excelsa. Typically, normally, the height of the coffee after pruning should be of this height for easy harvesting.
Oh,
But
okay.
you have to cut the trees like this one. We have the house here. So they could
Oh, that's
get
a
sunlight.
nice,
These are the
nice,
berries,
Yeah.
coffee berries. Okay? One of the proof for the type of coffee is the eye at the bottom.
Oh,
If it is big, it is Liberica. If it is small, it is Excelsa. But if the leaves is small, it is Robusta.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So it's the size of the leaf. And,
Size of the leaves,
and
other than the
eye.
taste, because you
Okay.
cannot recognize not until you roast it and brew it.
Oh, okay.
But nevertheless, 80% of the domestic coffee are Robusta. So
That's the Barako.
this is
That's
Barako is only 5% of the total country production. Very
Oh.
limited. Because the pricing is and the patronage is very low likewise. So most of
Until
the
the first
domestic
figure.
coffee are, that's why most of the coffee that we are drinking in the Philippines are imported.
oh.
Because only 15 to 20% is Arabica.
That
because-
one is bigger.
No, this one is tibig.
What's that?
This is tibig, a tropical tree that keeps the area cold.
Oh,
When you
it's
put
not
a
coffee.
shallow
It's
well
not
here,
coffee. Yeah.
it holds groundwater better than any tropical tree.
Oh,
So that's why I keep it, to keep the area relatively cold. It's not edible, but it's not poisonous.
Oh.
Ideal for birds and, just like what the Koreans say, they use this for garnishing food.
really?
Yes.
Oh,
And the talbos or the young leaves,
yeah.
pwede mo igisa. You could cook
Oh.
it. Yeah, but it's not so popular.
But it's edible.
Yes.
Oh.
Maybe if we have
Later
a
on.
similar situation like in Gaza, nothing to eat, maybe
Yeah.
we'll be eating just the same to survive, okay? But we are on a survival stage now in the country. Poverty is rampant. And opportunities are mostly gone during our time, during the 70s and 60s. We have plenty of manufacturing companies locally. Today, they have transferred to Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, South Korea. which they used to be here because of the strategic location of the country in the Pacific Ocean. Okay?
Wow, very good. Well, coffee.
Everything for coffee.
That's awesome. Hi.
Good morning, good morning. We smell the coffee. Wow. Ito ba yung coffee baraho, kuya? Robusta. Robusta. This is the Robusta. Somebody Robusta. Ayan na lang yung pinapalapit na. Ha? Kuya? Ayan na lang They like to see your demonstration before.
So this is how
Kuya, pwede ka bumili ng green bean? Yung pinakaparang yung bakit na dulo?
What do you think?
do they have like the raw one?
Yeah, so all these bags here, we call them like burlaps, but that's the green coffee inside there. And then you hear it popping. So that popping, when the bean gets hot, usually it's around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, it'll expand. And actually like internally it's like breaking apart and like popping out. So they call that a crack. And there's two different cracks. There's a first crack, which is at about 400 degrees, and that's the inside pressure of the bean just got so great that it expands. And then second crack is actually on the outside of the bean, and little like bits and pieces of it break off.
Kalahating kilo? Half a kilo?
Excited for it?
This is awesome.
When you what's it called that? When you actually taste it, you gotta tell me which one was the best. So all that stuff falling down.
You talking about this one, right? Phil, this is the one you want to buy?
Does he have other ones?
Is this the
Like-
ito lang ang klase? Meron sa Arabica. They have the Arabica. You want the fresh Arabica?